I would like to start with the question of what we know historically about János Hunyadi as a military commander, how he became, so to speak, this man of arms, if I may put it that way, in relation to him.
It can be said that he was one of the best military commanders of his time, and he was considered as such not only in Europe but also by the Ottomans. To answer briefly, he learned the best methods from the greatest. After all, if we look at the combat and military requirements of a general army of that era, it was necessary for an army to have armored troops, good mobility and strong firepower, as well as the ability to use these elements in the right proportions. And all of this was true of János Hunyadi's army. Hunyadi had mounted archers, true 15th century heavy cavalry, light infantry, and heavy infantry. And who did he learn all this from? I'll tell you now. On the one hand, János Hunyadi learned the art of mounted archery from György Csaki, who was the governor of the settlers. And we know that, for example, the Venetian ambassador wrote about the settlers that they were the best archers in the east and west. King Matthias also mentioned earlier that the settlers were very good archers, and we know that they fought according to the ancient steppe combat tactics, which they and the Cumans preserved the longest. His second military service, or rather his schooling, as there was no military academy at the time, was under the Serbian despot Istvan Lazarević. Now, the Serbs are not horsemen, nor does the hussar tradition originate from there, but the Serbs are masters of the type of warfare that we later came to call guerrilla warfare. After all, the homeland of the Serbs and Montenegrins is mountainous, forested, and rocky. Cavalry battles cannot be fought there, but it is ideal for guerrilla warfare. So light infantry breaks out of the protection of the forests and mountains, cuts off supply lines, strikes the enemy camp, and retreats back into the mountains. Hunyadi learned this in Serbia, where the Serbs were the best at it even then. After this, he served alongside Miklos Uilaki in the border forts for a time. Miklos Uilaki was that time the commander of the border fortresses. On the one hand, János Hunyadi learned the fighting techniques of the border fortress warriors. And at the same time, he became familiar with the fighting techniques of the Turks, since who would know the Turkish fighting techniques better than the commander-in-chief of the border fortresses? Then an interesting period begins in János Hunyadi's life. He is assigned to court service alongside Sigismund of Luxembourg, where he learns the art of heavy cavalry combat. Sigismund was of German origin, and chivalric culture was flourishing at court at that time, which is not the same as heavy cavalry warfare itself, but Hunyadi began to learn about it here. The Germans were the best at this type of chivalric armored warfare at that time.
Meghalnál értem. Na, mostantól érte kell meghalnod.
Then in 1431, he went to the Duke of Milan. He joined Captain Visconti, who was a mercenary captain. At that time, this region, northern Italy, was the most urbanized part of Europe alongside the Low Countries. And here, János Hunyadi learned the art of mercenary warfare, as well as castle warfare and urban warfare. Finally, in 1436, he accompanied the elderly King Sigismund against the Hussites. At that time, he was commander of the Royal Guard, and it was there that he became acquainted with the Hussite wagon battle tactic. To summarize what I just said, from the settlers, he learned the archers' tactics. From the Serbs, light infantry tactics. From the Germans, heavy cavalry tactics. From the Czech Hussites, wagon fortress combat techniques. And from the North Italian mercenaries, urban warfare tactics. And when I say mercenaries in northern Italy, I am not just talking about Italian mercenaries, but mercenaries from all over Europe who came to this region. That is why I started by saying that he learned the best methods from the greatest. And János Hunyadi not only understood that successful warfare required light cavalry, light infantry, and heavy infantry, but he also knew which units to deploy against which enemies, when, and under what weather conditions in order to win. And in this, Hunyadi was a master. Finally, I would like to highlight one more thing. Hunyadi was able to turn around a 7-day battle in which all signs pointed to defeat, even though the situation often seemed hopeless. But in the end, he was able to win. This requires a quality that very few military commanders in world history have possessed.
Kampı terk etmeliyiz.
szavamat, utána kell mennünk.
Testvér, győztél. Győztél.